It was a tense morning in Washington, D.C. as Karoline Leavitt, the rising Republican star and former White House press secretary, prepared to hold a press conference. The room was packed with journalists, some supportive, others looking to challenge her at every turn. Among them was Lisa Carter, a well-known liberal reporter from the National Progressive, notorious for her aggressive questioning tactics. As Leavitt stepped up to the podium, the cameras flashed, and the murmurs died down. She opened with a statement about the administration's recent economic policies, but Lisa Carter was already gearing up for a fight. "Ms. Leavitt," Carter interrupted loudly, disregarding press conference protocol. "How can you justify these tax cuts when experts say they will disproportionately benefit the wealthy?" Leavitt, composed as ever, smiled and responded, "That's a great question, Lisa, but let's set the record straight. These tax cuts are designed to stimulate growth for all Americans, particularly small business owners who have been suffocated by overregulation." Carter wasn't satisfied. She raised her voice again. "But isn't it true that, Lisa," Leavitt interrupted, her voice firmer this time, "I'll be happy to answer questions, but let's allow other journalists the chance to speak as well." Carter ignored the request and pushed forward. "You didn't answer the question. Isn't this just another example of Republicans catering to billionaires?" A murmur rippled through the room. Journalists exchanged glances. Leavitt's expression hardened. Then, something unexpected happened. The room fell silent as Karoline Leavitt squared her shoulders, her gaze locking onto Lisa Carter with unwavering confidence. "Lisa," she said firmly, "this is a press conference, not a personal debate stage. I've answered your question, and now I'm moving on." But Carter wasn't backing down. She took a step forward, ignoring the disapproving glances from fellow reporters. "The American people deserve answers, Ms. Leavitt. Why won't you admit that your policies favor corporations over struggling families?" A few gasps echoed through the room. Some reporters scribbled furiously in their notebooks, sensing a potential viral moment. The tension was palpable. Leavitt sighed and gave a sharp nod to one of the event organizers standing near the side of the room. Within seconds, security personnel in dark suits moved forward, their earpieces glinting under the fluorescent lights. "I'm happy to take serious questions from serious journalists," Leavitt continued coolly. "But if someone repeatedly disrupts this briefing instead of respecting the process, we have no choice but to remove them." Lisa Carter's eyes widened as one of the security guards gestured for her to leave. "This is outrageous," she shouted, clutching her microphone. "Censorship. Silencing the free press. The people have a right to know." Her voice was drowned out by the collective murmurs in the room. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every second. Some reporters sat in stunned silence, others whispered among themselves, weighing the optics of what just transpired. Lisa Carter's protests faded as she was escorted toward the exit. Just before disappearing through the door, she turned back and pointed a finger at Leavitt. "This is not over," she declared. Leavitt remained unfazed. She simply adjusted her microphone and scanned the room. "Next question." The room hesitated, until a hand cautiously rose in the back. The moment Lisa Carter was escorted out, social media exploded. Within minutes, the hashtag Leavitt silences press began trending on X, formerly Twitter. Clips of the incident flooded news feeds, with liberal commentators decrying it as an attack on the free press, while conservative voices hailed it as a long-overdue stand against biased media. Inside the press room, the atmosphere remained tense. Some reporters exchanged wary glances, unsure whether to proceed cautiously or risk facing the same fate as Carter. A journalist from the Daily Chronicle, a moderate outlet, finally spoke up. "Ms. Leavitt, don't you think removing a reporter for persistent questioning sends the wrong message about government transparency?" Leavitt gave a measured smile. "Not at all. I encourage tough questions. What I don't tolerate is grandstanding and disruption." Lisa Carter wasn't asking questions in good faith, she was performing for the cameras. If a reporter wants to debate, they can do it on their own platform, not in a press conference designed to inform the American people. The response was firm yet calculated, signaling that Leavitt wasn't backing down. Meanwhile, outside the briefing room, Lisa Carter was already speaking to a group of sympathetic journalists. "This is a dark day for the press," she declared passionately into the nearest microphone. "I was just doing my job, asking hard-hitting questions, and I was removed for it. This is authoritarian behavior, plain and simple." Networks like MSNBC and CNN quickly picked up her statement, running the headline, "Karoline Leavitt ejects reporter for asking about tax cuts, free speech under attack." But on Fox News, the coverage was entirely different. Leavitt stands her ground against liberal activist disguised as reporter. The battle lines were drawn. The political world was now divided, and the fallout was just beginning. As the controversy raged on, both Karoline Leavitt and Lisa Carter found themselves at the center of a political firestorm that neither could fully control. Every news cycle brought new developments, and the battle between the conservative and liberal media deepened. Leavitt, refusing to back down, took her message straight to the people. She made a surprise appearance on The American Truth, a conservative podcast with millions of listeners. Sitting across from host Matt Graham, she didn't mince words. "The American people are tired of the mainstream media pushing an agenda," she said confidently. Lisa Carter wasn't silenced, she was disruptive. "There's a difference. If the left wants to turn this into a fight, then let's have that fight." The episode went viral, racking up millions of views within hours. Her supporters rallied behind her, launching a #StandWithLeavitt campaign on social media. Donations to Republican-aligned PACs surged overnight. But Carter wasn't staying silent either. She was booked for an exclusive interview on the National Report, where she doubled down on her claims. "What happened to me should concern every journalist," she insisted. "This administration is setting a dangerous precedent. First, they remove reporters. Next, they blacklist entire media outlets." Her words struck a chord with progressive activists, and protests erupted in major cities. Outside government buildings, demonstrators held signs that read, "Press freedom under attack," and "Dictatorship starts with censorship." Yet, despite the growing outrage, something unexpected happened. New polls showed that a significant portion of independent voters sided with Leavitt. Political strategist Mark Caldwell analyzed the trend live on Newsfront. "This is fascinating. The media expected this controversy to hurt Leavitt, but instead, it's energizing her base and even pulling in moderates who feel the press has gone too far. If Democrats aren't careful, this could backfire spectacularly." Sensing an opportunity, Leavitt doubled down. She announced an upcoming town hall in Ohio, where she planned to address the issue head-on. The event sold out within minutes. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating in Washington. Was Leavitt positioning herself for a bigger political move? Some speculated she was setting the stage for a 2028 presidential run. The controversy had started as a moment of tension in a press conference. But now, it had transformed into a political movement. And the nation was watching. As the political firestorm grew, all eyes turned to Ohio, where Karoline Leavitt's highly anticipated town hall was set to take place. The event, held in a packed convention center, had drawn thousands of supporters, and just as many protesters outside. Inside, the energy was electric. The crowd waved American flags, wearing shirts that read, "We the People," and "Fight the Fake News." The stage was set for what many believed would be a defining moment in Leavitt's political career. The moment she stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers. She raised a hand to silence them before speaking. "I know why you're all here," she began with a smirk. "You've seen the headlines. You've watched the so-called scandal unfold. And you know the truth." A roar of approval swept through the audience. "This isn't about one reporter," she continued. "This is about a corrupt media that thinks it can bully conservatives into silence. Well, I have news for them, we're not backing down." The crowd leaped to their feet, chanting, USA! 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 Outside, the scene was just as intense. Protesters lined the streets, holding signs that read, "Free Press, not State Press," and "Authoritarianism starts here." The media was broadcasting live, capturing every moment as tensions between supporters and protesters threatened to boil over. Then, in a dramatic twist, Lisa Carter arrived at the rally. Flanked by a small group of journalists, Carter attempted to enter the event, cameras following her every move. Security guards at the entrance blocked her path. "I have every right to be here," she argued. "I'm a journalist covering a public event." One of the guards shook his head. "This is a private event, Ms. Carter. You are not welcome inside." The camera zoomed in as Carter turned to face the reporters. "You see this?" she said into the microphones. "This is what censorship looks like. The American people deserve to hear both sides of the story, but Karoline Leavitt doesn't want that. She only wants her version of reality." The footage spread like wildfire. Within minutes, news networks and social media were ablaze with debates. CNN headline: Karoline Leavitt bans reporter from town hall, is this the end of press freedom? Fox News headline: Lisa Carter crashes private event, demands a spotlight. Inside the rally, Leavitt's team caught wind of Carter's arrival. Aides rushed to brief her as she prepared to take audience questions. She leaned in and listened carefully before nodding. Then, she did something no one expected. She turned back to the microphone. "You know what? Let her in." Gasps filled the room. The audience murmured, unsure of what was about to happen. Security hesitated, but after a firm nod from Leavitt, they stepped aside. A few minutes later, Lisa Carter entered the hall. The crowd booed loudly, but Leavitt raised a hand to quiet them. "Lisa," she said, looking directly at her, "since you're so desperate to ask your questions, go ahead. But let's do it live, on stage, right now." The room exploded with reactions. Supporters cheered. Protesters outside scrambled to get inside. News cameras zoomed in, capturing every moment of the showdown. Lisa Carter's face paled for just a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. This was it. A battle between two women who had become symbols of America's growing divide. And the whole world was watching. A hush fell over the massive crowd as Lisa Carter slowly made her way toward the stage. The conservative audience glared at her, some jeering, others recording the moment on their phones. She climbed the steps, microphone in hand, her posture stiff but defiant. Karoline Leavitt stood at the center of the stage, waiting. She wasn't intimidated. In fact, she looked amused. "You wanted a platform, Lisa," Leavitt said, her voice carrying through the hall. "Here's your chance. Ask your question." The audience chuckled at her confidence, but Carter didn't flinch. She adjusted her microphone and took a deep breath. "Ms. Leavitt," she started, "you claim to support transparency, yet today, you had me removed from a government press briefing simply for asking tough questions. Now, you're holding a town hall where only your supporters get to speak. Tell me, how is that not a threat to democracy?" The crowd booed loudly at Carter's accusation, but Leavitt held up her hand, signaling for silence. Then, she smirked. "Oh, Lisa," she sighed. "See, this is exactly what I mean. You're not here to report the news, you're here to push a narrative." Carter clenched her jaw. "It's not a narrative. It's a fact. You silenced a journalist." Leavitt tilted her head slightly, as if dealing with a stubborn child. "Silenced? Lisa, you're standing on this stage right now, in front of thousands of people, on live television. How exactly are you being silenced?" The crowd erupted in cheers. Carter hesitated for a moment, caught in Leavitt's rhetorical trap. But she recovered quickly. "This is about more than me. It's about the role of a free press. Are you saying journalists don't have the right to challenge politicians? Leavitt's smile faded just a little. She leaned in, gripping the podium. No, Lisa. I'm saying that journalists have a responsibility to report the truth, not manipulate it. And what you did in that press briefing wasn't journalism. It was activism. Another round of deafening applause filled the room. Carter's face turned red, but she pushed forward. Then answer this, why won't you admit that your tax policies overwhelmingly benefit the wealthy? Why do you refuse to acknowledge the damage they'll do to the middle class? Leavitt laughed. A full, confident, almost mocking laugh. Oh, Lisa. There it is. The talking points. The script. You're not even asking a question, you're making a statement. That's why you were removed from the press briefing, and that's why Americans don't trust the media anymore. The audience was on fire. Cheers, applause, and chants of USA. USA filled the convention center. Lisa Carter knew she was losing control of the moment. She could feel the walls closing in, the energy shifting against her. But she wasn't done yet. If you really believe in free speech, Carter challenged, why are you afraid of accountability? Leavitt stepped closer, her eyes locked onto Carter's. I'm not afraid of accountability, Lisa. That's why I let you on this stage. That's why I'm answering your questions. But let's be clear, you're not here for accountability. You're here because you think you can make me back down. She let the words hang in the air before delivering the final blow. Well, guess what? I won't. The crowd exploded. Carter's face fell. She had walked into Leavitt's territory, and she had lost. Before she could respond, Leavitt turned to the audience. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We won't let the activist media control the narrative, we will speak the truth for America. The music blasted. The rally was over. Lisa Carter, humiliated, was left standing alone as the cameras cut to commercial. But outside, the battle was far from over. As Karoline Leavitt exited the stage, her supporters swarmed her, shaking hands and snapping selfies. The event had been a political masterstroke, she had confronted her opponent head-on and turned the moment into a victory. Lisa Carter, meanwhile, stood alone near the side of the stage. The defeat was still sinking in. Her attempts to challenge Leavitt had backfired, and the conservative crowd had eaten it up. But outside, the media firestorm was just getting started. The spin begins within minutes, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Red Circle Fox News, Leavitt destroys liberal reporter in front of live audience. Blue Circle MSNBC, GOP star humiliates journalist, is this the end of press freedom? Black Circle X, Twitter Leavitt vs. Carter, who really won? Tens of millions of views poured in. Everyone had an opinion. Conservatives hailed Leavitt as a fearless leader who refused to cave to the mainstream media's bullying tactics. Liberals fumed, calling it state-sponsored propaganda, and claiming Carter had been ambushed. Late-night hosts ridiculed the event. Meme makers had a field day. The country was split right down the middle, and neither side was backing down. The White House reacts that night. President Nathan Monroe was briefed on the controversy. His staff was concerned, Leavitt's popularity was skyrocketing. His press secretary, Jenna Fields, addressed reporters the next morning. This administration stands for press freedom. We will not allow intimidation tactics to silence journalists, she declared. But the response felt weak. The real momentum was with Leavitt. The Lisa Carter exclusive. The next evening, Lisa Carter appeared on CNN for an exclusive interview. She looked composed, but the frustration in her voice was clear. What happened to me was a carefully staged political stunt, she told host Anderson Reed. Leavitt set me up, turned her supporters against me, and made it impossible to get real answers. Reed nodded. Do you think she's dangerous? Carter hesitated. I think she represents a new wave of Republican leaders who don't just dismiss the press, they actively demonize it. The message was clear: Carter wasn't just fighting Leavitt. She was warning America. Leavitt's next move. Meanwhile, Leavitt wasn't done yet. She announced a nationwide tour, vowing to bring her message directly to the American people. She was no longer just a rising star, she was a political force. Speculation ran wild. Police car light. Breaking news: is Karoline Leavitt preparing for a 2028 presidential run? Police car light. As the country chose sides, one thing was clear: this wasn't just about a reporter anymore. It was about the future of America. As Karoline Leavitt's nationwide tour gained momentum, the political landscape shifted. Her fiery speeches against media bias and fake news electrified conservative voters. At every stop, crowds grew larger, chants of "We won't back down," shaking arenas. Meanwhile, Lisa Carter refused to fade away. Her viral moment had made her a symbol of press freedom to liberals. She embarked on her own tour, this one called Defending Democracy, where she warned about the rise of authoritarianism. Two movements. Two Americas. The nation was at a breaking point. The debate challenged. Then, the unexpected happened. On live television, Carter challenged Leavitt to a one-on-one debate. No crowds, no distractions. Just the two of us, face to face, Carter declared. Let's see if she can answer real questions without an audience cheering her on. The challenge rocked the political world. Would Leavitt accept? For days, speculation ran rampant. News outlets counted down her response. Would she risk giving Carter a second chance? Then, in a dramatic move, Leavitt broke her silence on X, formerly Twitter. Police car light. Karoline Leavitt, challenge accepted, Lisa. See you on the debate stage. Police car light. The final showdown was set. The night that changed everything. The debate was the most watched event in modern political history. Two women. Two ideologies. One battle for public opinion. Carter came in ready to fight, armed with facts, figures, and a determination to reclaim her credibility. Leavitt, confident as ever, stayed on offense, turning every question into an attack on Carter's biased reporting. For an hour, they clashed over media bias, free speech, and government policies. Then came the defining moment. Carter, visibly frustrated, leaned in. Karoline, be honest. Do you want journalists to hold politicians accountable, or do you just want a media that agrees with you? The room fell silent. Leavitt smirked. She knew this was her moment. I want a media that tells the truth, Lisa, she shot back. Not one that manipulates it. The audience erupted, on both sides. The debate ended in chaos. Pundits declared no clear winner. Social media exploded, each side claiming victory. But something had changed. This wasn't just about Leavitt versus Carter anymore. This was about America's future. The legacy. In the days that followed, polls shifted. Leavitt skyrocketed in popularity. Speculation of a 2028 presidential run turned into serious discussion. Carter, despite her fierce fight, was pushed to the sidelines. She had tried to stand her ground, but in the end,